We are back with the Big 12 Deep Dive. Today we're going to get into some bounce-back games for Big 12 teams this week, tomorrow, and then some Pickems for the top 25 teams, as well as the Big 12 teams, of course. Well, if you've been an Iowa State fan, last few days have still been a little rough. We're trying to, get through with the loss against Cincinnati because that first half was absolutely horrible. But Iowa State, as an Iowa State fan, I have to put them on this list because we just lost. Iowa State is a team that needs to have a bounce-back game. We're not going to talk about the last game, but Iowa State, this just got to be a get-right game. It just has to be. I mean, we saw on Twitter, I guess I don't know if you guys saw it, but it looks like Kyle Conradi is back in the questionable range. He's not indefinitely out or definitely out on Saturday. I know Matt Campbell said he is back to kicking, but not sure if he'll kick this Saturday. If we do, though, that could be a huge, huge boost for Iowa State. Obviously, against South Dakota, we saw him hit 63, 62-yarder, which is unbelievable. So, I mean, getting Kyle back would be absolutely massive. I mean, I genuinely cannot explain how big of a win that would be to have Kyle back. But no, I think, honestly, I think our offense is going to thrive on Saturday. I think our defense, we had the shaky first half, but I think we're going to be a lot better overall against Colorado. I mean, it's tough playing as a backup the way that it is, and when you got to come up and then you're playing, Big 12 teams for the first time, that makes it a lot harder jumping into the game right away. You have a week of practice to just be like, hey, by the way, you're playing against, a really good offensive team. We'll see what you can do. So this is definitely a get-right game for Iowa State, specifically defense. But again, I think our offense is going to thrive as well. Kansas State against TCU. I have Kansas State. This is a bounce-back game and get-right game for them as well. Last week, Kansas State lost 34-35 at Baylor. If you guys watched this, I watched the ending of this a little bit because Iowa State was playing. But Kansas State was actually up 34-32, and then Baylor hit a last-second winning field goal. Kansas State looks better. They look a little bit better. I still have tons of questions with their offense and Matt Wells, their offensive coordinator. More so the connection between Avery Johnson and Matt Wells. But it looks like they're starting to, figure some things out. But I said this yesterday, or not yesterday, I said this on Wednesday's episode, that Avery Johnson, I think we're finally starting to see a lot more of him that was expected when he was a freshman, or we were told about this when he was a freshman. But no, like I said, I think it's kind of the same thing with Iowa State. This is a bounce-back, get-right game for Kansas State as well. Obviously, this game for K-State is a lot more important. I mean, Iowa State's game is obviously just as important, probably actually more important because we're still in contention for a Big 12 championship game. But Kansas State, like I said, I mean, they've looked a lot better these last couple of weeks. Specifically, last week they looked really, really good going up against a good UCF defense. So this is 100% a K-State get-back game. All right, now we're going to go into some top 25 picks for this weekend. I just picked some random ones out. We're going to start with OU versus Texas. I don't want to talk about this one too long because they're both teams that left the Big 12. But Texas is favored in this one at 2 points, I believe, last time I checked. Oklahoma, I think, looks like the way better team. I mean, I talked about this in my AP episode, but I'm just like, what are we doing ranking Texas this high in the first place? Like, what? Like, and I don't think Texas gets it done here. I really don't. Oklahoma, I think could almost come away with a 14-point win. I'm not saying I don't think OU's going to blow out Texas, but I think they handle Texas pretty easily, especially Oklahoma's defense going up against Texas' offense. I think Oklahoma covers and wins. Simple as that. Indiana at Oregon. I have Oregon winning and covering the spread. I believe the spread was 7. I don't know why I didn't write those two down. I have Oregon covering the spread and winning. My guess is I think it's going to end up being like a 10, 14-point game, so not too much over what the spread is at right now. But and Indiana's a good, solid team, I think. I was kind of doubting them a little bit until we saw them absolutely dismantle Illinois, who I think is also still a very good team. But no, I think Dan Lanning, I mean, watching his speech over Penn State, I mean, his facial expressions, I mean, you could tell he was super emotional after that game. I think Oregon is arguably making a case to be the number one team in the country right now, but I think for this Saturday, I think they get it done fairly easily against Indiana. Next one, we got Alabama at Mizzou. I have Bama covering the 3-point spread. I have Bama actually, I think, is going to win this game by 14 or 17 points, maybe 21. And this is no disrespect to Missouri, but I just don't think we've seen what Missouri can actually do, because we've seen them play Kansas, we've seen them play South Carolina, but Kansas right now is a middle-of-the-pack Big 12 team. South Carolina is bottom SEC. I don't see Alabama struggling too much in this one. I think they win it at Missouri, covering the 3-point spread. And the last one we have outside of the Big 12 is Ohio State at Illinois. Again, we saw Indiana dismantle Illinois by 53 points. I have Ohio State winning, but I don't think they cover the 15-point spread. I think this is going to be a 10, 10, maybe a 9-point win, maybe 7, somewhere in that touchdown to field goal range, or touchdown to touchdown field goal range area, 7 to 10 range. I don't know why I tried to say it like that. But no, I think Ohio State comes away with a win. I still think Illinois is a good team. I think they will probably drop out of the rankings this week, with losing to Ohio State, more than likely. But it's the AP poll, so Lord knows, I guess. But yeah, Ohio State, I think they win, but they do not cover the spread. Now we've got the Big 12 teams. I'm not going to go in a whole lot with these. I know this is a little bit of a shorter episode, but I just want to talk about these games a little by little. Big 12, first we're going to do is Arizona State at Utah. I have Utah winning, but Utah right now is a 6-point favorite. I don't think they cover that. I think Arizona State, their only big loss of the season, and not even big loss, but their loss against Mississippi State. And Mississippi State had a late touchdown that they won that game on. So I think if Utah wins, it's going to be a 3 or 4 point game. I don't see them necessarily winning by a touchdown, but I wouldn't put it higher than that. I would personally, I would not even go over the 7 range. I just wouldn't do that. And I think Utah and Devin Dampier, I think they're going to play lights out on Saturday night. Next one I've got is Kansas at Texas Tech. I think this is going to be a good game in the first half, but I think Texas Tech is going to run away with it, and I think they're going to cover the spread of 15. Texas Tech put up 35 points against the 16th best defense in the nation last week against Houston, at Houston. And Kansas, there's still, I talked about this earlier in the week, but there's still a lot of inconsistency with them and just a lot of question marks around their whole kind of program right now. More so of they're a good team. They're a good team. They have good players. They have good coaches, I think. But there's some connection that's not adding up. There's some connection that's not connecting right now. I don't know what it is. But I think Texas Tech is a far greater team than Kansas. I think they cover the spread of 15. I think Texas Tech is going to win this by 17, 21, 20 points, something like that. And especially it being a home game for Texas Tech too, I definitely see that being a big win for Texas Tech at home. TCU at Kansas State. I talked about this as a get-right game for Kansas State. But unfortunately, to any Wildcat fans watching this, I have TCU winning and covering the spread of 2. Kansas State's defense is solid, but I think Josh Hoover and TCU's offense, I just think they create too many explosive plays, and TCU has a very good defense too. I don't see Avery Johnson and Matt Wells getting it right this week against TCU. I see Kansas State dropping to 2-5 this week against TCU. I think it's still I think it's going to be a close competitive game, but I don't see Kansas State winning against TCU just because of the elite offensiveness of Josh Hoover and the TCU, all of their skill players, and their speed. The TCU is a very, very fast team. And that is kind of the question that I have with Kansas State on the defensive side is can they keep up with the speedy receivers and speedy running backs of TCU? Next one we got is Houston at Oklahoma. There's not a whole lot to say about this one. I said this last week too, talking about Oklahoma State. I think Houston wins, but I do not think they cover the 15-point spread. I think this is going to be a low-scoring game. I think it's going to be, 28-14, maybe 21-10 kind of a game. I think this is going to be sloppy all around, not just because of Oklahoma State, but also Houston's offensive consistency, kind of the same way with Kansas a little bit. Like, we've seen them put up points, but also this is the same offense that struggled and had to come back against Oregon State to win. So I don't think, and Oklahoma State played a really good game against Baylor too. So I don't see Houston covering the 15-point spread. I still think Houston's a very good team, top of the Big 12 team. But right now with Connor Wigman, where he's at with this offense, I just don't see them covering the 15-point spread. It's going to be a low, sloppy defensive battle, but I do think Houston ends up winning this one. We got 3 left. One of them is a get-right game. The other one's an upset. But first, before we get to the upset, UCF at Cincy. I have Cincy winning, covering an 11-point spread. I just said UCF's defense is really good. I think Cincinnati's offense is too powerful right now with Sorsby and his wide receivers and his backs. And Cincinnati, honestly, I'm not going to lie, I was downplaying Cincinnati so much. I don't think anyone, this is the last time I'm going to bring up this game, I promise, but Iowa State, I don't think anyone had that game circled coming into the year. Not one single person had Iowa State at Cincinnati marked, but I think Cincinnati's seriously a contender, and I'm not just saying that because they beat Iowa State. I'm saying that because of the way they beat Iowa State with their offensive power and their defensive power. Like, I seriously think Cincinnati is a legitimate contender in the Big 12. I think they're going to be right there when it comes to, 1-2 games left in the season. They're an elite team. I truly think that they are. Our upset of the week, I only have one this week. This is my upset, is that Arizona defeats BYU, who's favored by 3 right now. And I have some doubts about this, but I'm more confident that Arizona does win this than I am BYU covering the spread of 3, which is why I took Arizona. Because, number one, it is a home game for Arizona. As Big 12 fans, we all know that the home field advantage is pretty real in this. I mean, most of the time in any one of these conferences, you don't see a stadium that's under 75% of the way full, even when your team's bad. Like, Oklahoma State is maybe the only exception, but that's because they're bad. No, I think when I look at this game, and BYU specifically, I think they're, I wouldn't call them mid-tier, but I also wouldn't call them elite tier. I'd say somewhere in the middle. And I think Arizona's probably about mid-tier, but I think Arizona going up against a BYU team who only beat West Virginia by 14. I think I said this in yesterday's episode or the day before. I don't think BYU, with who they've played, has really proven themselves yet. I think if they win, they're going to. Again, this is a prove-it game for BYU. It's not a get-right game. It's not a bounce-back. It's a prove-it game for BYU 100%. But, no, I have Arizona upsetting BYU. I know this has been I haven't seen a whole lot of people picking Arizona to beat BYU, but I think Arizona gets it done on Saturday. So the last one we have, save the best for last, of course. Iowa State and Colorado. I have Iowa State winning, covering by 3, or covers the spread of 3 right now. My reasoning behind this, I think our defense is going to play better this Saturday. I don't know if we're going to be elite, but I think with Colorado's inconsistency this year on offense, I think it's going to be enough for us to win the game by a touchdown, by a field goal, if we're kicking, I guess. And my main reasoning, too, is our offense. I don't think we're going to have a slow start like we did last Saturday. I think we're going to jump off quick in this game. I really do. I think we could be at 24, 28 points at halftime against Colorado. And Colorado's a good team, too. Well, there's a solid team. But I don't see this one being too close at all, really. So yeah, but that is all we have time for in this one. Hope you guys have a great day watching football tomorrow. I will be back either Sunday or Monday recapping all these Big 12 games. Haven't decided yet which one. But if you're subscribed and you turn on the notification bell, you will know when I post. Or if you follow me on Instagram, TikTok, all of that stuff, you'll also know when I post soon or the next time. That's it for this one. Hope you guys have a good week. Peace out.
Thanks for listening to the Big 12 Deep Dive, the podcast where we break down everything Big 12 football and basketball.